Hi everyone, my name's Daryl. So a little while ago, I did a video on my top plug-in hybrids. Number 5 on my list was the Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe. And well, yeah, this isn't a Jeep Grand Cherokee. This is its kind of rugged brother, the Wrangler 4xe. Now, the Wrangler 4xe was on my list, but he was actually last on my list. And the reason for that was, you know, he doesn't get a whole lot of EV range with only 22 miles of EV range, and he doesn't get all that great gas mileage, only 20 miles per gallon. But this is about as cool as it gets, and it's a convertible. It's the only convertible that's on my list of plug-in hybrids. So I just couldn't turn down the opportunity of reviewing this fantastic car. And so let's get on with it. A special thanks goes out to Las Vegas Dodge, Chrysler, Ram, and Jeep for giving me the opportunity of test driving and reviewing this fantastic vehicle. They are one of Southern Nevada's largest dealers of vehicles like this, and they are great people. So check them out on Boulder Highway. So believe it or not, the Jeep Wrangler 4xe, it's America's top-selling plug-in hybrid vehicle, and it's been that way since 2021. Now, there's been some changes in 2024, and so I want to briefly cover those changes before we review this Jeep Wrangler 4xe. So one of the biggest changes in 2024 has to do with the model lineups for the 4xe. In 2023, Jeep added the Willys to the 4xe list of models. In 2024, they expanded even further with the Sport S model. Now, the Sport S model lists at a little under $50,000, and it's one of the only vehicles, the plug-in hybrid vehicles, that's still eligible for the federal tax credit. It qualifies for $3,750 off, and it does this because it's made in the USA. So you can get your Sport S 4xe for just a little over $45,000. So the most exciting change for me in regards to the 2024 Wrangler 4xe's is the addition of this accessory called the PowerBox. Basically, it acts as an inverter, and it looks like a sophisticated power strip, and it plugs into the J1772 connection of your Jeep Wrangler. And basically, it has 4 electrical outlets, it's got 30 amps, and it has a total of 3.6 kilowatts of power. And so you can power a campsite, you can power your trailer, you can have your Jeep Wrangler as an overland vehicle. Heck, you could even use it as a backup generator for your house. And what makes it even better is if that 17.3 kilowatt battery ever kind of extinguishes and doesn't have any more power left, all you have to do is power up your Wrangler, and as long as you have gas in the engine, the motors can actually power that power box, keeping that power running to your electrical essentials. So I'm really familiar with an inverter. We have a 1500 watt inverter in our RAV4 Prime, and we use it basically anytime that we go camping. We have a little trailer and we tow it behind our RAV4 Prime, and every single time we go camping, we power the trailer with it. The one thing I am hoping is I hope it makes its way into the Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe. So on my review of the Grand Cherokee, I said that's one thing that's really missing that some other hybrids and plug-in hybrids have. And so hopefully this makes its way. And yeah, I'm really happy about this change, and I'm sure it'll make a lot of Wrangler 4xe future owners very happy. One of the other changes has to do with eSave mode. So Jeep engineers revised the eSave programming so that basically it makes it 50% faster. And so if ever you want to charge your battery just using the engine while driving, well, you can do it a lot faster with the 2024 Wrangler 4xe. So another change has to do with this front grille. In 2024, they actually shortened the grille a little bit on the height, which basically allows for a factory installed winch. Now, they didn't sacrifice on the ventilation or the cooling in order to get this accomplished. So another positive change has to do with the Rubicon models. Jeep modified the rear axle in such a way that it better handles modifications by owners if they're upgrading the tires and actually making them larger. That makes that rear axle more durable. The other thing that they did is, because of this rear axle change, now they've modified the tow ratings so that the Rubicon can actually tow 5,000 pounds as opposed to 3,500 pounds, which I think is a great change. For 2024, Jeep made substantial changes to the Willys package. So now you get 33-inch BF Goodrich KO2 tires, you get rock rails, you get electronically activated rear differential, and all these changes make the Willys package much more off-road capable, and it's $7,500 less than the Rubicon. Standard for all 2024 Wranglers is a larger 12.3-inch touchscreen multimedia display. That's backlit. So when you have your convertible top down, as every Wrangler should, you're going to be able to see it very clearly. For the Sahara models and up, for the first time ever, the Wrangler seats will be electric with the 12-way power adjustments and also sound deadening materials to make that ride a little bit quieter. Finally, all Wranglers will also have side curtain airbags to improve the safety of your Wrangler. So there are definitely some really nice changes in this mid-cycle refresh for 2024. But with that being said, let's go ahead and check out this 2021 because most everything else stays the same. The Wrangler is powered by a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine along with 2 electric motors and a 17.3 kilowatt-hour battery. Combined, it makes 375 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty impressive. Now you should know that all Wrangler 4xEs use the exact same drivetrain components as their gas counterparts, so you don't really lose any off-road capabilities with your hybridized Wrangler 4xE. Exterior-wise, the Wranglers have stayed pretty consistent since 2007, and the only folks that would know the difference in the generations, for instance the JKs and the JLs, really are Wrangler owners. And if you don't know, the JK refers to the generation between 2007 and 2018, and the JL refers to Wranglers from 2018 to present. The one thing that does distinguish 4xEs from other models is you have some blue badging on 4xEs as well as blue recovery points, and you also have a 4xE badge on the back of the Wrangler. One of the things that's a little bit confusing with Jeep Wranglers is all the different models, all the different engine options, and all the different accessories that you can get for the Jeep. One of the things that you probably want to pay close attention to is whether or not you're going to use your Wrangler as primarily an off-road vehicle or whether you're going to use it primarily as a daily driver with just occasional trips onto the trail. If that's the case, you're probably going to want to choose either the Sahara model or the Sport S model, as that are more road-focused Wranglers, and you'll get a lot better control out on the freeway and smaller tires and more road-focused tires. As I mentioned, these models will be more comfortable for your daily driving routine, but they'll still outperform almost everything else if you decide to go on the trails on the weekend. So the one thing that separates the Wrangler 4xE from every other plug-in hybrid on my list is the fact that every Wrangler is a convertible. Now I have the hardtop on, I haven't taken it off, but every Wrangler, whether it's a soft top, whether it's a hard top, can be a convertible, which is just great. In fact, the Wrangler is actually cross-shopped against sports car convertibles more often than similar other off-road vehicles, because everybody loves on a beautiful day to take the top down and just to feel that fresh air across your face. And with the 4xE and the quietness of the EV motors, the silence just makes that experience so much better. So talking about convertibles and tops, that's the one choice that you have to make on your Wrangler is, do you want a soft top convertible? Do you want a hard top? Or do you want to have an automatic top? So I actually happen to think the cheapest option is the best, being the soft top. And the reason I like the soft top is mostly because it's flexibility. So with the soft top convertible, you have this thing called the Sunrider position, where you can take the top and you can just kind of flip it up and over and tie it down. And then you basically have open air on the driver and passenger side. Now you can also, with the soft top, you can take it all the way down, have it in convertible position, and then you can remove the back panel and the side panels, and that gives you that real open air experience. You can also take the convertible top totally off. Finally, let's say it starts raining real quick and you don't have a lot of time and you have the side panels and back panels off. You can simply raise that convertible top up real quick and then you can drive it just like that. Actually, a lot of people choose to drive it just like that all the time, and they call that the Safari option. So my next favorite top would be the Sky Top One Touch. And this is a really nice option because with one touch, the roof will actually open and we'll have an open air filling in the driver's and also in the second row. Now, this is an expensive option, so I think this lists for about $4,000 extra, but a lot of people really wouldn't live without it because they don't want to have to deal with the work of putting that convertible top down or to have to deal with the other hardtop issues. So the last option is the hardtop. Now it's a little more expensive than the soft top, but it does give you a little more security than the soft top, so it's harder probably to break into. The other thing with the hardtop is you have these things called the freedom panels right here, which come off relatively easily. And that gives you and your passenger kind of that open air experience. Now you do have to take these panels off and you do have to store them somewhere. So you have to store them either in the back of the Wrangler or like in a garage somewhere. Now with the hardtop, you also have the option of taking that back roof totally off, which gives you that full open air experience, just like the convertible top. But that back portion of the hardtop, it takes a little time to remove everything that you need to remove, and it's also pretty heavy, and you have to store that somewhere. So yeah, there's a little bit more to it than the Skytop One Touch or the soft top convertible, but it's hard to go wrong with either top on the Wrangler. Now, another really cool option with the Wrangler is ordering half doors. Now, I didn't really quite understand half doors before, but basically with half doors, it's sort of a frameless door. And so when you replace the regular door with the half door, it really takes that frame off of the door and it really gives you that open air experience and some very clean lines. And so, yeah, I probably wouldn't order half doors just because of how expensive they are. And I think the Wrangler looks good enough with the top off, but yeah, it's really cool. So since we're talking about doors, well, who needs doors anyway? So with your Wrangler, right, you have all the tools that you need because they provide them to you, where you can take those doors and you can take the doors totally off and not have any doors at all. Now, the one thing you will have to do, and most states will require this, is you have to get a different side view mirror and then you have to mount that somewhere. But those accessories can be found relatively inexpensive. But yeah, it's a really cool look when you have your Wrangler basically naked without doors and without a roof. So the other thing that you need to choose about your Wrangler is if it has 2 doors or 4 doors. The 4 doors are called the Unlimited and the 2 doors are basically just Wranglers. The benefits of the 4-door include additional cargo space, and the ride is actually a little bit smoother and probably a little bit more composed. The benefits of the 2-door, well, it's a little less expensive. It's probably $4,000 less, similarly equipped. And also some off-roading people prefer the 2-door because they can get around rocks and stuff a little bit easier. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the interior of the Wrangler. There's a lot of other videos that kind of cover that. But basically the interior is comfortable, it's practical, but it's certainly not luxurious. You have your standard features. Your seats, they're manual. Actually 2024 is the first year on the Sahara model where you could get electric seats. But the fact that it doesn't have memory seating, I don't mind a manual seat. You have a relatively nice multimedia display. It's the smaller version of the screen. Like I said, for 2024, they did upgrade the size of the screen. Your controls for the windows, this will probably be new for most folks. The window controls are actually not on the doors themselves because the doors are removable. You have your climate control right here. You have your shifter for the 8-speed transmission down here, as well as your control for the 4-wheel drive right there. You have relatively small cup holders, but not terrible. The center console, it's a 2-position center console, so you have a relatively deep one, and this is lockable. Your glove compartment over here, it's pretty deep, but it's not all that big. But once again, it is lockable. And you have your information display, which shows you basically either your speedometer, your vehicle information, off-road information, energy economy, hybrid information, and basically all the pertinent information. You have what's happening with the energy. So are you charging as you're driving, and how much power are you using, as well as your tachometer. I do think this cabin is a little bit smaller and narrower than most cabins, but I find it actually is pretty comfortable because the armrest fit perfectly for me. So this one is pretty well padded. This armrest right here and this armrest over on the left-hand side fits perfectly. And so this cabin is really great for me. You know, the windshield is a little bit smaller than most windshields, but because the exterior is just so boxy, you've got a relatively good field of vision or field of view. And so I really like that also about the Wrangler. Okay, so let's go ahead and give our Wrangler a test drive here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the start button and get this started off. You're going to notice that it defaults for hybrid mode. So basically that's how it starts up all the time. Now you have the choice from hybrid mode, electric mode, or e-save mode. Hybrid is a hybrid. Electric is basically it uses, you know, the electric motors and the battery in order to propel the vehicle. And it's going to allow you to do that for about 22 miles or so, kind of depending on how aggressive you are with the accelerator. And finally, it will also have an option for e-save mode. Now, e-save mode basically lets you save the battery. So if you don't want to use your battery at all, you would just hit the e-save button. If you actually want to charge the battery, you can change that option in your multimedia display, and it would be under the hybrid option to change that mode. And then you can actually charge the vehicle as you're driving it, which is really cool. A lot of folks, I think some off-roaders, and I think in general most off-roaders aren't really interested in the 4xe. Most hardcore Jeep fans don't like change all that much. But with the electric motors, the off-roaders can basically do their off-roading in silence. And sometimes that can be helpful, and they might appreciate that sometimes. Okay guys, currently I'm actually in charge mode. I'm trying to give myself just a little bit of charge and save the battery for the test drive. And you can sort of hear the motors running, and so that's one way if you are taking a test drive and you just want to hear what that 4-cylinder engine sounds like with the turbos. You can just turn it on the save mode, and basically it's not going to use the battery or electric motors for the most part at all. Now, one of the things that I want to show you is you do have a button that controls the regeneration. So I'm going to go ahead and show that to you here. This button right here, where is it? Yeah, the blue button right here is the regeneration button. So as you take your accelerator and you take your foot off the accelerator, it'll actually brake. And it does so pretty aggressively. And I had it in hybrid and save mode, but I was using the regenerative braking, and I was actually able to capture quite a bit of additional energy, so that was pretty cool. Now, we do have a little rain going on in Vegas right now. That's kind of unusual, and so as the rain kind of hits the roof, you'll kind of sort of hear that. I did actually have plans to take the Freedom Top off, just so that you could hear the difference between when I'm driving normally and when I have the Freedom Top off, because it's really easy to take off. But my wife said, no, don't do it, because as soon as you take that panel off, it's gonna start raining, and I don't want to, I'm borrowing this car, so I don't want to ruin the interior with any rain. So yeah, we're not gonna do that. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna put it in EV mode, so you can see, you can hear what that sounds like, and we can also feel, you know, what the kind of horsepower and torque that you get just by using the electric motors. So I'm now going to turn on electric mode. And you just heard the engine turn off, which is kind of cool. So now we're kind of running in silence here. And so I'm really interested to see what this is going to feel like. Now, when I did drive the Grand Cherokee 4xe, it had a couple of different modes that this Wrangler doesn't have. It had like a sport mode. So, you know, it would get a little more aggressive on the throttle. Well, the Wrangler doesn't really have that. So yeah, I won't be able to test that. But let's see what it feels like when taking off from a start in electric mode. You're not going to feel the full horsepower and torque. I think in electric mode, you basically get, what's the number? So you get 134 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque. But in the city right here, yeah, it's just fine. It takes off relatively quickly. And if you're just driving around in the city, and probably even on the highway, this is going to be controlled really fine, because, you know, with those electric motors, there's just no delay. You know, the 134 horsepower would hurt you on the freeway. You know, if you're trying to get 85 or 90 miles per hour, that's not really going to work. But just around town, or just going 65 to 70 on the freeway, that's going to be just fine. And you will hear kind of a little whirring. It's kind of like almost like a vacuum cleaner kind of sound, I guess you could say. Jeep actually puts that sound in there. It's kind of like the pedestrian warning system, so that you know, it's a relatively silent car, and so if it's traveling at low speeds, it wants to warn pedestrians that, you know, the car is coming. Now, the one thing that you will have with this plug-in hybrid, and most plug-in hybrids out there, because most of them don't have a whole lot of horsepower or torque, is that if you dig into the throttle, so I'm gonna floor it, it's gonna turn that combustion or gas engine on, because it says, oh, it senses that you really want to go faster, and so it's going to turn that gas engine on, which for me, it doesn't bother me at all. I actually find that engine on the 4xe Wrangler, as opposed to the Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe, I actually find the engine, I like it a little bit better as far as the sound, which is kind of unusual. I'm not sure exactly why, but it sounds more pleasing to me. We're going to merge onto the freeway, so I still have it in electric mode. And you're seeing the miles per hour. I'm really not flooring it. I don't want to floor it because I don't want to have the combustion engine turn on, but I just want to see how well it merges into traffic. Now, you're gonna hear a little road noise in this car. This particular Sahara does have all-terrain tires, and so it is gonna make a little more noise. I'm up to 66 miles an hour now, and it's still running in EV mode. So let's get on it a little bit more. Let's get it up to 70. It's still in EV mode. I'm not exactly sure when it will want to turn on the combustion engine, perhaps at 75 or 80, but certainly this is just fine as just a regular commuter car. I mean, you're able to go down the freeway, no problem, commuting to work, and it's very comfortable, very quiet, and so yeah, this would be a really nice car, and traveling in silence is really awesome. All right, so I'm gonna switch it over to hybrid mode now. So if you are typically doing long trips, you're likely gonna be in hybrid mode, and if you are taking long trips, you're actually gonna find just the standard 4-cylinder turbo is actually gonna get a little bit better gas mileage than this one because it has less weight. But I just wanna test the acceleration. So we're just kind of cruising along at 70 miles an hour, and I'm gonna floor it just to see what kind of acceleration we get. Yeah, so really nice acceleration out of this vehicle. And so those electric motors, they really make such a big difference when you're accelerating either from a stop, because, you know, just the urgency of it, as well as if you're actually traveling at a certain speed, and when you're traveling down the road and you really need to accelerate. So I am down to 7% as far as battery life. I think I started off with like about 30% or so, but I've been kind of driving this thing a little bit hard. Yeah, so one of the things that you should know is that even if you get down to 0%, so you no longer supposedly have any battery life left and you can no longer drive in EV mode, the Wrangler, as well as most plug-in hybrids, it'll kind of keep a little bit on reserve. So it keeps about 25% of that battery on reserve, and it does that so you always have that extra battery power on tap to give you extra power. So even though you don't have any battery left, you're going to still have that full 375 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque on tap, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so if you notice, I had it on e-save mode, and now I've actually went up to 8%. So it's pretty cool how it can actually charge the battery while you're driving it. But anyway, so we have 375 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque on board. We're currently going about 40 miles an hour, and let's just go ahead and floor it, and just to see what it feels like. This is really kind of a hoot to drive. You know, I love my RAV4 Prime, but this thing, you know, it would probably definitely give it a run for its money, either on a 0 to 60 test or, you know, just on a straight acceleration test. It's pretty amazing. If I can do a quick 0 to 60 run, I will. Not that I have any sort of instruments or anything like that, but supposedly, if you brake torque it and also turn off traction control, a lot of testers have got 4.5 seconds 0 to 60, and yeah, so that's pretty amazing. All right, so we're going to do a little acceleration test from a stop. I think I'm going to turn off. I am going to actually turn off traction control, but I'm not going to brake torque it. So we're just going to kind of floor it from a stop. Yeah, so that really took off really nicely. The wheels spin just a little bit, and I didn't floor it right at the start. I can see there was a little hesitation, and so I can certainly see how when you brake torque it, supposedly it just takes off, just like a a cannonball coming out of a cannon. It'll actually almost throw your head back. And so yeah, I felt a little hesitation, so I could definitely see how that would happen. But yeah, that was really some nice acceleration. You kind of like the noise that a Wrangler makes. I really don't mind it so much. Maybe it's because, I've had a lot of high performance sports cars. So, I currently have a Nissan GTR. I had a Corvette with an exhaust on it. And so, yeah, a little bit of noise doesn't bother me. Now this one, as I mentioned, it does have all-terrain tires, so you will hear a little bit of road noise from those. But I think if you had a regular Sahara with just regular road tires, I really don't think it would bother me even taking, a long trip on it. The suspension, of course, with the Wrangler is soft. So it's kind of more like a truck where it's kind of bouncy, but it's kind of fun. I really like it. You can feel those bumps in the road a little bit, but it's more of kind of a rolling feeling, and it's not like a, there's some sports car out there with really hard suspension that really, it kind of beats you up. But this car, it's just, it's more of just kind of like a rolling thunder. It's just fun to be in. And so, yeah, I'm so far really enjoying this test drive. I think I would really enjoy, driving a Wrangler around. Now, this is actually the first time that I've been in a modern generation Wrangler. I did test drive some TJs, which were just way too raw for me, and very loud, and this is more of kind of like a modern car, I guess you could say. The steering maybe is just a little loose, but with the all-terrain tires, probably expect that a little bit more. But you just don't want to go crazy with a Wrangler. You don't want to drive too fast, you don't want to take the corners too fast. As long as you drive it just like a normal person, you should be fine. Driving about 50 miles an hour, and there's a little bit of wind here, and I will say for sure I'm getting a little bit more wind noise as opposed to my other cars that I've driven. And so, that's to be expected. Things are kind of a little bit loose. And in the Wrangler, we've got these freedom panels up top, so you don't have, all that really tight-fitting doors and windows and tops and things like that. But pretty much in any convertible, you're gonna kind of expect that. So I've got to say, I really love test driving this Jeep Wrangler 4xe. The extra power and the quietness that the 4xe gives you, as well as, the increased EV range, I think it's hard to go wrong. So who is this Wrangler for? Who should buy a Jeep Wrangler 4xe? So I would say, first of all, if you want to use your Jeep Wrangler as a daily driver, and let's say your commute is not too far, you will definitely benefit from the plug-in hybrid option of this, and you will increase your gas mileage over a standard gas-powered model. The other thing is, if you really want a cool looking car, and if you also enjoy driving around with the top down. So if you're in a location that has some great weather and you just really want to drive around, feeling that open area experience, the Wrangler might be for you. And finally, if you do some trails on the weekends, let's say you are a big hiker, or you're just an outdoor enthusiast and want to hit the trails, this Jeep Wrangler also might be for you. The Jeep Wrangler 4xe gets better gas mileage than the Ford Bronco, and it's a plug-in, and Ford doesn't even have a hybrid yet. And with the Jeep Wrangler, you get that great Jeep community. Just drive by any other Wrangler owner and they'll give you the famous Jeep Wrangler wave. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and also consider subscribing to my channel. And I hope to see you in the next one where I review my next plug-in hybrid.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago.